like Anubis. We're pristine, so back mindset, like a machine. In the game, we're clean, we're so keen. Powers in the sky, chasing that dream. That dream, obelisk tide, we rock the scene. Capturing rhymes while taking what's unseen. On the ark, we're kings, we're supreme. Never seen the limits in we evergreen. Time grows, visions we stand, we will go claim the crown. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting down. Run and charge and calculate the power we bring. Running like a panther, hear the battle sing. We're blazing through the ranks on the move and swing. With might in our hearts to take everything. Everything pillars rise as we claim a throne. For victory, we've already grown. On the field we fight, we overthrow the known. Nothing stop us, ain't no way we stand alone. Time grows, visions we stand. We will go claim the crown. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting death. From the desert outside to the desert outpost, we crave more. With every sweet stride, we will the right. We're opening the door. So here's to the grind. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting death. Yeah, we're fighting death. We're fighting death. We're fighting death.
What is going on, Governors? Chiscool here, and today we're casting the Rise of Kingdoms Global Champions Grand Prix in 2025, and joining me in the booth is Brian Koo to cast the GT versus 748W matchup in the bottom bracket. This should be really hype.
Is what's going on? What's going on, everybody? Yeah, this should be a fantastic match. Two of the best international teams going head to head, win or go home. And yeah, this is going to be a fantastic clash of styles here. Can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Yes. We watched yesterday as 748W got the win. And that was a hype match that both you and I were casting with some big plays made. And it's funny because afterwards, in fact, just this morning, you sent me a message. You're like, just cool. Some of this was actually like pretty predictable. They've done the same thing every match. So we'll probably talk about that a little bit. But big picture, what are some of your expectations for this matchup?
So honestly, Chiz, I think we just have to go right to that. I think we have to go right to the start because these two teams have done the same things in multiple matches, and their opponents have countered them in either really effective ways or less effective ways. And so I'm really curious whether they're going to just keep doing, both of these teams, GT and 748W, are they going to keep doing the same strategies that have gotten to them to this point, or are they going to mix it up? And for 748W, that really is that no mark at the start where you open up aggressively, you send a lot of players to the GT outpost to take those outposts, then you cast that no mark and get a big points boost from the first occupations, and then kind of give up on that first arc. Are they going to do that same thing again and just hope the GT is not good at responding to it? On the other hand, with GT, what they have done every week, or at least for the past couple weeks against Chinese opponents, they have skipped the first mid and used no mark to take enemy buildings during that first mid fight. And so does GT keep doing that? Does GT keep not using any skills at the start, using stocking up later and boosting their mid fights with that? Does GT keep doing tons of gathering while 748 does almost no gathering? These are two teams that have a giant gap in how much gathering they do. GT does 5,000 more points of gathering every week than 748W. If we know all these things, Chiz, can't we prepare for them? Can't we adapt to our opponents and counter them very effectively? I'm just very curious to see whether these teams stick to the strategy or mix it up.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody does what's expected, who wins? Right? And on the flip side of that, if both teams change up their strategy, then who wins? So it's like this weird game of chess, like which team is going to stick to their guns and which team is actually going to adjust, and who's got the better questions to ask. You and I have talked about this before, where you go into a matchup, and I always feel like it's better to ask questions than to have answers. And I feel like the ultimate question at the start of the match is popping energetic, popping no mark, and saying, okay, can you handle our building game? I thought that was really slick. In fact, on the topic of energetic, my observation last round was that it asks very little of you and doesn't give a ton, but it does give you more energy points, right? And so my other observation is that like maybe you could get more from stocking up, but it asks more of you. So I'm very curious if like GT is going to switch things up and they're going to use stocking up. My prediction here is that 748W is going to go in guns blazing and then it's just going to do the thing they've been doing. I think they're just going to run it back. And I think they're going to say, try and counter it.
You know, Chiz, it's so interesting because we do have different approaches to just basic philosophies of gaming, right? You're a systems guy. You love that. You love the system. You love the economy, where it's like we just have this efficient thing that you have to stop us from doing. And for myself, being this poker player, this person trained in poker, I love to be the counterpuncher. I love to exploit what the enemy is doing. Whatever your system does, Chiz, there is some sort of weakness or there is some appropriate reaction to it. And so to me, if 748W goes in and does the exact same thing in this match, which we saw them do yesterday, GT knows they want to do that. Can't GT prepare? Can't GT send 10 marches to defend their outposts? Don't push forward at all. Defend your own buildings and just deal with that no mark. Like, make the no mark not hurt nearly as much. And the thing is, GT, they are a natural counter-punching team. This is a team that for years in these Ark of Osiris leagues, they have loved to play defense. They sit at their buildings with their whale accounts. They play very good defense, and then they go mid and win mid. Now, obviously, this is a different team now in GT, but you do have a handful of players like Seawill who have been part of those, legacy, very accomplished GT teams. They have merged here now with the MX team that won their realm. I just think that if 748W does the same thing again, GT can counterpunch it. And if GT does the same thing again, 748W is for sure smart enough to sniff it out.
I don't know that there's a great answer to this play. Yeah, they could be more defensive, but that just means that 748W goes more offensive, right? They just keep less behind. They move all in. And speaking of moving all in, let's jump into the match and see what they do. Here we go. This thing opens up in... Okay, hold on. There we go. Just a second. We're loaded in. The match begins. And in blue, we have 60 GT with, funny enough, Cleopatra leading the charge. Double C and Cleo. It's the new Triple C on their way out the front gate. OG Joan. That's funny. And both teams, by the way, trying to get a sense of what the opposing team is doing. Actually, I take it back. GT put their vision right in front of the gates. Whereas, there's energetic. I'm telling you, bro, they're just running it back. Like, don't fix it if it ain't broke. Like, that I think this is possible. I actually think this is the best opener for Ark of Osiris in 2025. What 748W does. I may be wrong, and I'm open to that, but it puts max pressure. It lets you take buildings faster, and it only sacrifices the first arc, which is the arc you care about the least. Call me crazy, but that's a plan.
You know, call me crazy, Chiz, but if 748W sends marches to the outpost, for example, right? Mm-hmm. Then they therefore have less marches at the altar, right? So just win the fight at the altar, and then you hold your own altar. Like, you don't give them the first capture. Just put all your marches where you need them, and win. And here's the other thing, Chiz. Well, I mean, this is actually contrary to that. GT, they are sending gatherers out right away, as you pointed out. They are sending that
bro.
Cleo.
Yeah.
What's up?
They're stocking up. 100%.
Yeah, they're stocking up. They're stocking up. That's a few marches that you could use to deal with this onslaught from 748W. And so I do think that's interesting. Like, but I still think we have to look at the reaction from GT here. Like, what is their reaction going to be? And I'm looking at the map now, and I'm seeing Pirate here in the middle, pushing towards literally the middle of the map. He's walking past GT's own middle outpost. So they're gonna. Pirate is probably trying to pick up the outpost attackers, and then let's just see what else GT does here to deal with what you predict is going to be just the same 748W strategy. Final thing I want to say: 748W can choose whether to use the no mark. Right? They can just do a normal offensive approach, as all teams do in Ark, and then if they like what they see, they cast the no mark. If they don't like what they see, they don't have to do the no mark early in this match.
Yeah, I think it's a waste. I think they just go no mark. Like, I would just execute the plan. Which is crazy. It sounds crazy. Like, I would just do it, man. I think it is such a strong opener. And so, like, what does GT have to do to counter this, right? Which I think is a great question. And you pointed out, will they just get more defensive? It is possible that they're able to get more defensive, but the more defensive they get, the more that 748W is correct to just go full offensive, right? Because let's play this out. If 748W goes full offensive and GT does not attack 748W buildings, then they were correct to send every single march they possibly could spare, right? So GT has to push the buildings a little bit. Otherwise, 748W can leave their buildings empty, which is not the situation you want. But if they're pushing forward a little bit, it leaves their buildings in the back vulnerable. So in a worst case, they trade some of these buildings, right? I really feel like pushing is the way to go, actually. Even if they, like, look, all they have is one march going to Shrine of Life. Like 7-4, and it's a Joan. It's not even a garrison. Like, what's going on here, man? Like, it's like, they got 60 seconds, but I think these guys are just going to go super offensive again. And we see GT going offensive too here. So, I don't know, man. I think this no mark is imminent.
Captures. Well, but, okay, one thing to say is there are no outpost captures imminent from 748W. Now, it's hard. I feel like to some extent they've been picked up by GT, but I also think that maybe they could have avoided GT and kept pushing forward. But no outposts are going to get taken by 748W here. And GT took to the fight to them here at the bottom side. So, like, for GT, whether they knew it was coming or not, they have just decided to be aggressive with this. And no mark yet. No mark yet, and no stocking up from GT yet.
Yeah, I mean, GT is like kind of matching their energy here, right? Like they've got about the same level of punch in each place that 748W went. There's no mark. I mean, this was like for me, this was like the literal most predictable possible thing. This is
to what end, though? To what end is this no mark being used? They're not taking GT's outposts.
Look, these building captures are shortened by a minute. Even though, dude, I bet they let this altar get captured so they can recapture it, and it's now a 2-minute capture time instead of a 3-minute capture time. Right? Doesn't it make the capture time shorter too?
It definitely does. You know, on their own building.
Let them take your building. Who cares? Look, they just take it back. This has got to be the strongest opener in the game. I'm so convinced.
Well, let's see what kind of lead they get, right? So for right now, GT does have the Sky Altar on the bottom side of, or I'm sorry, 748W has GT's Sky Altar on the bottom side. So to me, that is very, very relevant. You know, a minute 18 or a minute 10 to go in this building, and can 748W hold it? Doesn't look like it to me.
No, I don't think so.
It doesn't look like they can hold this, right?
No.
They're not going to get first capture here, and
well, hold on. It's
just
not quite over yet, but I think it will be. What they were missing here is a garrison captain. If they'd gotten a garrison captain in here, this might have been a different story. But presumably that captain got picked up. Oh, hey, it's our favorite captain. Oh, now it's 2-0. All right. Arthur was leading that show for a second. But I think no mark in an even board state is, like, honestly fine. Like, this is still fine. They're getting points faster. They're getting more points once they have the buildings. Is it fine?
Well, the thing is, no mark is always good. Like no mark is always good. Like, I mean, you're always going to get some value from no mark. The question is, how much value do you get? And compared to yesterday, 748W has gotten way less value. To me, this is an excellent start for GT. This is an absolutely great start for GT here. Just playing pretty good defense. And like you said, they matched the numbers from 748W at every building. And so far, they have not lost a single building.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge.
Yeah, I agree. We see the leaderboard is higher right now for those first capture points. They still have some time with no mark active, but it's only a total of 5 minutes, right? So that no mark activated at 52. That time is halfway expired. I don't know how that works once you start a capture, but then you haven't captured it by the end of the time. Presumably, it doesn't add a minute back on.
Yeah, I don't think it adds a minute.
Although
probably it will decrease a minute, right? Like if you use no mark and there's a timer going, it will instantly decrease it by a minute. So maybe it does add it as well. Not sure.
Okay. There's the stocking up. So I think GT has responded really well here. To your point, they have not lost a lot, if anything. And now have the stocking up advantage, which asks more of you, but if I'm not mistaken, has a higher potential for what you can get from it. So the stocking up play here is really, I think, going to make them in an energy surplus, an advantage for the next 15 minutes. It all depends on how much they commit to the middle. I think that 2377 did a really good job yesterday not overcommitting to the mid fight. They only used the 4 ability points in Heaven's Grace in this situation. What do you think GT uses in this mid fight?
So, you know, one thing that's interesting is GT has skipped the first mid in their last 2 matches, but you know, because they have such a skill point advantage here and cast stocking up, it just makes so much sense. It makes a lot of sense for them to go middle.
Yeah, they can't skip
I would probably
this.
just use to the death. Like, I would just use to the death here. Get that to the death out of the way. Win the Ark. But then you control the Ark, Chiz. Then you control the Ark, and then you can use your no mark whenever you want. Your skill bar goes to 0, and then you just hold the Ark for 10, 15 minutes, and then your skill bar is ready for the second Ark fight. You've used your no mark when you want to. I think to the death and making sure that GT wins this mid fight is going to just allow them to control the pace of the game. I think you're going to see more than to the death, honestly. For me, the temperament of GT being a relatively conservative philosophy, I think they're going to use to the death plus something else and make sure they win this Ark fight.
It depends on how many points that 748W commits. Like, I just don't think 748W is going to commit any points. I think they acknowledge this Ark is gone, and their hope is to bait as many points out of GT as possible. So the bigger the overcommit from GT, the better. So, like, if GT... I think it would be a mistake for GT to commit to the death here. And the reason is that that's got to be like the literal best case outcome for 748W. is that they have to the death and GT doesn't for a future Arc fight. Now, if 748W magically has enough points to do to the death right now,
I think that's
which
the
I
question.
doubt.
I think Heaven's Grace is the question, right? Are they going to have enough points to use Heaven's Grace? Which they're going to cut it close.
They don't have it on the bar. They don't have it on the bar. They could use Desert Storm. I bet they've got enough for a Desert Storm.
Oh, that's right. They didn't use Heaven's Grace yesterday. You're right. They can use Desert Storm or War Drums, right? They had War Drums yesterday. War Drums will be a pretty good skill here. Certainly, it is the case that 748W has committed their entire team to this arc. Both teams have now fully committed. 748W got there first. GT is getting here late. GT is getting to this arc late because they weren't sure whether they needed to fully commit or not. 748W has absolutely committed to this arc. It has given them the temple.
Yeah,
but
they're on
GT,
it. Yeah.
GT has the ability point advantage by a country mile here. And so 748W, they've postured aggressively here, but GT is like a lion circling its prey right now.
So I like this play by GT with the dust up, and the reason I like it is that GT is basically saying, with the dust up advantage, we win this fight. That's what they're saying. So either 748W has to use more, or we're gonna win. And they're counting on skill and execution. GT to the death. Okay, just kidding. They're gonna brute force it. There's the Desert Storm. I feel like that's a really bad Desert Storm.
That's a bad Desert Storm. I think War Drums is better here, honestly. I think
nothing. Just cast nothing. Is my opinion.
So far,
Desert Storm doesn't make sense to me.
Right now, it's just one skill, or no, it's 2 skills versus 1. 8 points versus 3.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like we said, GT felt good about this arc, and let's see what happens though. Let's see what happens. Looks like the pull is actually on the red side. Looks like the arc is actually on the red side. So a very big pull here by 748W.
I don't think we've seen a tempo play with the arc yet, though. Like, you're right, it does move the arc, but I can't recall the last time we saw a team lose the mid fight but win the arc with a grab. So I don't know. Like, now I will say this.
It's not that.
If GT doesn't win this, with 8 ability points used, they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and really think about commander pairings and open fielding approach, right? Like that. It could just be that 748W had numbers if they do win this fight. But this is a lot closer than it ought to be, all things considered. But I think there's more blue here than red.
Yeah, more blue here now.
Yeah, okay, it's more clear now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was surprisingly close considering the skill advantage that GT had there. 740W might have had like a very slight numbers advantage, but GT got the job done. At the end of the day, we can quibble about when they got to mid or how they fought once they got there. But at the end of the day, GT got the job done. They got this first arc, and they're just in a very good position now where they can hold this thing for as long as they want, use their no mark, and go about their day.
So we do need to talk about this, though. This is like actually pretty significant. Like GT, yeah, they got the arc W for them, but barely. Like actually, they barely got the arc, and they used to the death and dust up. What just happened? Like what do we attribute that to? It's either the gameplay, it's the combinations, or it's the quantity. Right? Like, were there more marches ready for red in the middle? That certainly could explain. But, like, that diff right there should be... Like, if I'm GT, I am concerned about how close that was. Like, yes, elated, we got the arc W. But, like, that should not have been close.
If you're a team that's made it this far in the Grand Prix, you have practiced on this Grand Prix server a lot against other competition. I think all these teams know where their mid ability is, and they know what the diff is. In general, on average, I think GT knows what the diff is between their mid success and the 740W mid success. That might have been a slight outlier because of the pull or because some of GT's players got there late. But we have to note that GT has been skipping more middles than almost every other team. They've tried to make this a side play game, and they've tried to just out-strategize and out-skill cast their opponents in order to advance in this tournament. So it may be that GT is not the strongest mid-fighting team. And honestly, credit to them for maneuvering this far where maybe there is a diff in the results of how they play mid. And it is, I mean, you can say it's alarming, Chiz, or that it's a problem in this match, but it's a problem from ahead. Like, GT is ahead in this match. So, and maybe they only have to win that one arc. We love to say, if you win, sometimes your strategy is such that if you win one arc, you can win the match. That may be the position GT is in, or wants to be in this match.
Well, let's talk about what happens next, right? Because I think it's pretty predictable, in a way. I think that GT holds the arc for as long as possible, such that they can take a no mark activation and enjoy the extra point gain, right? I mean, the reason they're in the bottom bracket, in part, is because in the past they didn't get a double to the death no mark, and they were sitting on ability points unused. So, I mean, they had to have learned from that experience that, okay, we need to frame the whole game around getting our double to the death no mark. So to that end, I guess the reason they used the to the death when they did is in part because now they have arc control, which means they have ability point tempo control, because they control when the arc gets turned in, and so they no mark at their convenience. They turn the arc in at their convenience and set up the time warp for the second half of the match with to the death and no mark available yet again. Meanwhile, 748W is going to be looking for that situation as early as possible to productively use to the death.
Yes. And that's the key. That is their own tempo. I'm sorry to jump in.
No, you're good.
I should have let you cook. But, you know, we talked about systems at the beginning of the match and having a system that, like, you can't stop. And I just think that the trajectory that GT is on, 748W can't stop them, because GT knows exactly what 748W wants to do. 748W has to go heavy mid on the second arc, and they have to use to the death on the second arc. So GT can, you know, adjust to that and counter that in so many ways. The obvious way is you skip the second arc. You just skip the second arc. You time warp, you use no mark for the second arc, you take all of 748W's buildings, and then where is 748W? They are between a rock and a hard place. What are you going to do? Cast to the death while you take back your own desert altar? I mean, it's a very tough spot for 748W. And the question is, okay, we know what both teams want to do. Is either team going to, do something very unconventional instead?
For GT's sake, I think the answer is hopefully no. They just stick to, like, the nuts and bolts. Use your no mark, hold the arc, try not to lose too many points on buildings. In fact, if you can, try to gain a little edge on buildings using your no mark, which they should be able to do, I would think. And, like, because no mark, it's easy to forget, like, the sort of list of benefits, but it makes it easier to capture those buildings and defend your buildings. So with no mark activated, like, even if they go even-ish, it's going to be easier, and they're getting points. The double no mark activation just feels so important. What does 748W do, though? Like, for them, like, I guess they just run the best building game they possibly can. That's all they can do. There's no other tricks up the sleeve. Like, they played their cards at the start of the match, and, the literal first 40 minutes of this match are basically decided by the choices that 748W made at the start. Right?
Yeah, if they have to use that to the death, right? If they have to use to the death before their second no mark, which you're a staunch advocate of, then 740W is sort of locked into what they have to go heavy mid, and they have to use to the death for the second mid. Now, in between those mid fights, they can be very strong on the sides. We saw them take the GT Desert Altar, and they're going to try and take more buildings from GT. I think GT just wants to play defense. They're very comfortable playing defense, and if they're just at a neutral state and they use no mark, they will get the lead in this match. But, if you're 748W, it's that second arc to me. It's like, do you go heavy mid and do you use to the death? What I think is maybe you go slim mid, but use to the death for the 30 marches that are there. In some ways, you are getting the optimal activation of to the death in that sense, because it only touches 30 marches. So maybe you go slim for the second arc, anticipate that GT is going to skip it, and go from there. But obviously GT can, be unpredictable and go heavy for the second mid.
748W is in such a position because they don't really want a time warp, because we know they like the time warp for the double Desert Storm as a really cool party trick, So
yes.
I don't think they want a time warp here. Like, it's so funny, but like the opening play of 748W asked a good question and GT had a good answer, and the scoreboard's still pretty close, but almost certainly favors GT because they have the Ark in hand, and that's major. But it just sets so much of the pace for the whole rest of the match. Like, 748W must have thought all of this through already, and like, we're just kind of thinking about it in a way for the first time, which is like, okay, if our opener doesn't work and they have the Ark, like, how are we using our points effectively? And like, here you can see, like, look at this huge attack on the Desert Altar. Like, I think they've been very aggressive on buildings. I mean, is GT pushed up to the Sky Altar at all?
GT's barely pushed it at all, and there's a reason for that, Chiz. Without zooming out, take a guess at how many gatherers GT has right now. Just take a guess. How many gatherers?
I already zoomed out.
You already zoomed out.
Too late, bro. Too late. Oh my God, they are.
I won't make you count them up. I counted them up. They have 12 gatherers right now. They have 12 gatherers.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So, yeah, it's a huge gathering effort from GT, and then they're playing defense of these buildings. Given how many gatherers they have compared to the 0 gatherers for 748W, honestly, 748 should be taking more of these buildings. It's really a testament to GT's defense that they have not taken more of these buildings. I'm looking at the GT Desert Altar on the top side now, and it's close. It's close if they're going to take this. And it's like, man, I mean, and then there you are on the bottom side. GT's actually on the attack here on the bottom side.
They are now on the attack,
They're gathering and attacking. This is very, very strong from GT. And like you say, 740W, I think they're just, they have a tough set of choices here. And also worth noting, they have not even cast Energetic a second time. Like, the meta has changed so much from when we were like, oh, when do you cast Energetic? You just cast it off cooldown. Now they have held Energetic for about 20 minutes since they last cast it. And they probably have a full skill bar too. Like, their skill bar is quite well, actually GT skill bar is super full right now. Like, don't you cast No Mark right now?
I would have assumed so. but I think the bars fill up a little slower than in actuality than they do in our mind as casters, right? Like, I think it's a little bit slower than we give credit to. But I think you're bang on that 748W is holding Energetic because their bar is going to fill up, so there's no reason to use it, and they know it. And I think with regard to the No Mark, it is a little surprising that we haven't seen it. Like, I get really anxious for GT if we are 20 minutes left and they have not used a No Mark. Do you see what I mean? Like, literally, they're in this bracket, in my opinion, because they didn't double to the death No Mark in their game where they got bumped to the bottom bracket. And if they'd done literally the exact same thing they did, but had used the abilities, they would be in the top bracket. So that's just my perspective, and they may or may not be right. But I just get like really anxious the longer this goes without they're just using it to score more points.
And only 3 minutes left to hold this arc, right? Like, so, when you capture an arc, you can hold it for up to 15 minutes before you're forced to return it. GT has now held this arc for 12 minutes, and there are only 3 minutes left on this arc. Them not using No Mark is honestly very crazy. Gabriel Almeida in the chat saying, 60 GT, please use No Mark. Stop using Yes Mark. And I agree with them. I mean, if you're not using No Mark now, it's a little... Well, they have stocking up. So, like, we anticipate they will cast No Mark in the next few minutes, and then they'll use stocking up to replenish their bar to have enough skills for the second mid fight. But the fact that they're holding it is like there's something up. You know how you sniffed something out yesterday? I'm sniffing something today. And I think it's from GT. Like they've got something interesting planned here, because otherwise you would have cast No Mark by now.
I think they should be using it. I think they should be using it because the time horizon in which it's relevant is really shrinking, right? So you got to get to mid on time, and you also have to recover the points by the time you get to mid, so you can do something cool. And we're just sitting here, right? So like 2 minutes left before they have to score this arc. Then it's 8 minutes until the next arc spawns. Like, if they use No Mark in the middle of the time when they should be going to the arc, that feels kind of not optimal to me. I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going to use it, man. I feel like they're not going to use it, and it just makes me really anxious. I do think their position is still very good, and I think that if they provision as much as they're going to this match, that they're still sitting pretty at this moment because they answered that initial play from 748W. But I'm not getting the ability point hold here. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do, because they must be cooking something. But it felt like when they got bumped down to the bottom bracket, like they weren't cooking anything. They just didn't use it. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it will, and you know, the other thing is they also held the enemy's desert altar, so it's just like an amazing time to use No Mark right there.
Yeah.
But you know, you're right. It's like they obviously have something planned. It's going to be very interesting to see. They really are waiting the entire time to return this arc. Only 50 seconds left on this arc, and they're doing a good job of holding off the attacks from 748W. They really have not lost their buildings much in this match. Even with that No Mark that 748 cast, 748W only has a 1,500 point lead in occupation score. So, yeah, GT, they could have made it easier on themselves, but they are still in a very good position. And for 748W, this will be a simpler life if they could take these buildings more easily, but they're still very much in this game as well. The second arc is going to be amazing.
Arc for almost every second they could. That's one of those moments where you're just like, don't disconnect, don't disconnect, don't disconnect. Right? Not that it's common, but just like, what an awful time for that person to get disconnected and be like, all right, there's 10 seconds left. Score the arc now. It's like, oh, hold on. Anyways, I just get anxious. Cool. Here comes a rally. We got Subutai here. Interestingly, not an Attila in front of it. So yeah, that rally.
That could be the Scipio secondary.
Getting swarmed
probably.
Now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Skippy. Wow.
We've seen both crazy rallies today. We've seen now the Subutai Scipio cavalry rally. We've also seen again that Scipio Aemilianus Gorgo secondary infantry rally, which is very, very interesting. I mean, you're the infantry guy. If you wanted anti-swarm, wouldn't it be better to just use Pakal than Gorgo?
I don't know about Pakal. Pakal, maybe we should just let him live in like 2022 when he dropped into the game or whatever it was, right?
He was so good.
Yeah, I don't. Pakal, the problem with Pakal is that, yeah, it's got anti-swarm, but not enough pressure. And so it's too easy to fill through a garrison. So my understanding of what you want in a rally is you want so much pressure that you DPS them out. I mean, a part of the reason I made at one point in my Rock career the full infantry set was for Ark. And the, Ark leader at the time encouraged me to do that because they were like, look, like if you want to capture buildings, you need attack. Like you don't want, the Hope Cloak and the Eternal Night for trades. Like you just need to push the DPS. And so I think that's what you want in a rally. And the reason that Pakal is not a great choice is that it just doesn't bring enough DPS and it's too easy to fill through. How's that for a little bit more sophisticated answer than you probably expected?
No, and also, with that arch formation, set that's on that Scipio, the Gorgo does a lot of good damage as well, right? Her active skill, what it'll boost. Oh, I stepped into something I shouldn't have stepped into here because I forget exactly what Gorgo's first skill does. But anyway, you're right. You get more damage from the Gorgo secondary than the Bakal, and it does make sense. And she also has counterattack, so that's good.
Yeah, well, damage factor has really come a long way. Like, you know, that Bakal damage factor, it ain't what it used to be, if you know what I mean. You know, like it's probably like 1,400 plus a shield or something, and it's like, well, that's just not doing what you need these days. So, like, yeah, the answer to the rallied with Bakal is like, all right, just fill the garrison, let it just get wrecked.
So really good attack here by GT at the enemy Sky Altar. A fantastic take by GT in the midst of like massive defense. Look at all the Red Marches who could not stop that attack. We were just talking about DPS, damage per second, being so important, and they just DPS'd through 10 enemy marches to take this building. Really big flip for GT. GT just racking up these small wins along the way, and that's while they're gathering very heavily and while they still have 2 potential no marks left in this match. Yeah, so now we got to start thinking, Shiz, like, what is GT going to do for this second mid?
I can tell you
what are both teams going to do? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I can tell you almost exactly what GT is going to do. Is they're going to use stocking up to get probably like 13 points or something insane of offensive punch into this next arc fight, and they're gonna take that arc and they're gonna hold it. And what they're basically doing, I think, is they're saying, if we get 2 arcs and we out provision you, and this building game is what it is, we just win. It's over. Like, you can't stop us. So rather than go for the shiny object, which is the no mark activation that I so desperately wanted, I think at this point, because they've not used anything, they're going into this mid fight with a full 10, and they're going to use Desert Storm, Dust Up, Time Warp, and like to the death, and maybe another Desert Storm. Like, I doubt they have that many points, but like, it's going to be something stupid. Like, it's going to be just a huge amount of ability points in this mid fight. That's what they're up to. And
how about a double to the death? That would be pretty cool. Right? I mean,
they
only lasts a minute.
Do that, but it is an interesting idea. And here we see exactly what I said yesterday of Energetic with regard to a mid fight. Is they use it now with 3 minutes left. So presumably in that time, they're going to recover all the energy and then some. And what they'll probably do is cast something early leading up to the mid fight. Isn't the arc in 3 minutes? Where the heck is everybody? Wait.
Yeah, 3 minutes till arc, and hardly anyone has gone mid yet. Like, tons of fighting on the sides here with only 2.5 minutes to go before the arc.
Understand. This doesn't make any sense. GT's not going for arc? I mean,
it's almost like a game of chicken, right? Where it's like GT knows that 748W has to go heavy for this second mid to use that to the death. And then 748W is like, well, we know that you have the ability to skip this, so we're just gonna skip it anyway. And GT just like wanted to go sides. Like, GT, I think, just was like, we are going.
I don't get this. Here. This is weird. This is really weird. So they're gonna no mark, I guess. But if they were gonna no mark, they should have done it twice. I can't.
Absolutely.
I can't. Like, why not twice? It's so many points. If this was the plan, why not twice? I don't get it. Hopefully, I will soon, right? Just because I don't get it doesn't mean I'm right. But, like, no, they're going mid now. This is, like, the latest mid in the history of Ark of Osiris League. This is crazy.
Some of them are going mid. Some of GT is going mid, but not all. I'm looking at El Hytham on the top side. El Hytham was making a push towards the Sky Altar. He's now redirecting nearly full marches. He started to walk home, and now El Hytham is just like in the middle of nowhere. There, you found him. He wanted to go to the Sky Altar. Somebody told him probably to go somewhere else, and he is just in the middle of nowhere for this arc. But also there's a lot of 748W marches who are in the middle of nowhere, like a ton. There's actually a ton on the bottom side. There are a ton of red marches pushing the sides. As crazy as this is, with 45 seconds or a minute to go.
It's not crazy. It's not crazy because they have vision. They're like, GT's not here. Audible,
yeah, but GT's going to get there.
Go.
GT will get there with more people. GT is going to get to this mid with more people. I
Maybe,
believe.
but it's like they had vision. They knew, so they sent people to the sides. GT's gonna lose the Sky Altar over this for sure. At a minimum, they're losing Sky Altar right now. Right? Like this is really late to go mid.
It's the Ark. It's all about the Ark, man. I mean, to me, this is
GT
all about
can't
the
contest
Ark.
this Ark. It's in 28 seconds.
No, I know,
how
but
do
I'm
they
just
contest?
saying, like,
that Ark's gone. That Ark's gone. GT's
has
about to
more skills.
get pounded in this Ark fight. They don't have the
Here's the
bodies.
thing.
They're going back and forth. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it was very bad for GT.
This is
here.
confusing.
This last 15 minutes for GT has been a mess, honestly. Here's the thing, 748W has extra skills here too. They use their energetic for this. They're going to have more than 10 points of skills, both teams. And here we go. Let's see what everybody pops off.
No mark?
No mark from Viet Minh.
Yeah. Because they have vision. They're like, oh, we got you in middle, suckers. We got you. They know they have them. They know they have them. And they're going to take a building. And they pop that no mark before. So they're going to snap this thing off. GT no mark. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't get this at all. If GT had gone mid, big mid, they use their stocking up, drop like, I don't know if this is actually possible, but like 13 ability points of insanity, and it's over, bro. Like, they got that Ark for sure. And then they just win. They hold it and they just win because their provisioning is so huge. They still may just win because I think everybody's underestimating how much GT is provisioning right now. Actually, wait a minute. What is going on here? They have the obelisk. I just don't think that does anything right now. What?
No, not really.
This is confusing.
This is amazing. Listen, you're right that they could have gone mid and probably won mid with slightly more skills. What they also could have done though, Chiz, is just cast the no mark before the second mid, skip the second mid, use no mark again, take these buildings, and win that way. Like they did, you know. But that requires double no marks. Like that requires you to use 2 no marks to get all those occupation points.
GT can still double no mark.
That's
and
true.
They definitely have the points to double no mark. They still can go on that plan. They're already like winning by a lot. So I think 748W scores this Ark, but they had to commit so little to that fight that they just score the Ark and say, yes, please, may I have another? Right? Like, they just go for another one.
Check the obelisk on the bottom side for the red team.
Yeah.
It's flashing
Is it gonna
blue.
flip?
It's flashing blue.
Is it going to flip?
It's not just going to flip.
It did flip.
It flipped.
And they're porting in.
They could potentially
port
people in. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. How amazing is it that the guy's name is Pirate? Pirate sneaking his way in, and he's the only one not using the pirate ship theme. Oh my god, I can't.
Well, Pirate needs to clear these people who are blocking teleports, and just on a basic level. But look at how many marches he is forcing to sit there, right? Pirate 5 marches are locking up 6 or 7 marches right now, and he can cheeseburger them. He can cheeseburger the crap out of these guys. So
he may not
Pirate
have 5
City
marches. I think see, they're coming from over here. His marches were not in his city. They were out.
It's
man.
still a great teleport. That's a great teleport.
It's a weird
Pirate
one.
For the last 18 minutes can be very, very productive from this position. And listen, Chiz, you made a great point. They can still double no mark. And I think that's part of why GT played that so weird and gave up the second mid, is because they still can do 2 no marks in this match and get all those points.
Right. So
with this Ark return, it's basically a tie game. GT has a slight lead, plus their gathering, plus their second no mark, because Viet Minh did cast a second no mark already.
Yeah, it's kind of like GT has options, right? So like, one option is they have more ability points, they take that as an advantage, they fight mid, and I guess what they felt was like, no, That's what 748W wants us to do. They want us to fight them mid.
Yes.
They want us to use the ability points that way. So we're not going to do it. And these guys are still holding the Ark, which I guess they're just timing it. Because, yeah, there they go. Score it. Okay, so plenty of time for this last Ark. To the death available for both teams. For 748W, presumably it's on the bar. We don't know for sure, but presumably it's on the bar. It has been historically. And then for GT, they can still time warp, which is definitely happening. They still, maybe, can time warp and no mark end to the death? Maybe? Maybe they can do all of it?
Time warp, no mark into the death. I'm sure they can with stocking up. I mean, GT's bar is still very full right now. It's not, maybe not capped, but they have a lot of skill points. But so does 748W. Let's give a lot of credit for how 748W has played the last 10 minutes or so. They cast very few skills mid. In fact, Viet Minh really styled on everybody by casting no mark as they pushed in for that mid fight. And then they returned the Ark very quickly. And so 748W does have a very nice potential win condition here, where if they win the third Ark, they can possibly outscore GT. 4,000 points for that third Ark. GT has a 1,800 point lead plus gathering. Chiz, I would think that GT has probably a 5,000 point lead by the end of this match with all their gatherers.
Yeah,
so
I think this leaderboard is really deceptive right now. Like, I think GT is ahead by way more than it shows, I think. Maybe not. I mean, they have actually scored just under half of what their provision score is probably ultimately going to be. So the provisions are accounted for in a non-trivial way, but like the total provisions here from 748W, like this could come back to bite them. And that, I mean, we'll see in 15 minutes what that looks like, because you know, we get a little look around here, and I don't see any provisioning for 748W.
You know what's funny is that Pirate is looking for gatherers right now, and he's not going to find any. He's not going to find any gatherers. He's sending all his marches out to look for gatherers, and there are literally none. So in that sense, it's a pretty good bait by 748W. But yeah, I think that the lack of gathering could potentially cost them here for sure. And what we're going to be probably see in the next few minutes, as we have 5 minutes before the next Ark, is we're probably going to see something similar to the chaos of the last one, because I don't think GT needs to go mid. I think they can fully allocate to the sides, use no mark, and try to win that way. Now, here's the cat and mouse game. Here's the game of chicken. If GT knows that 748 knows that GT doesn't need to go mid, then does GT know that 748 is going to not send very many people to mid?
Yeah, that's the problem. So, like, GT sending such a small amount to middle was problematic because it let on too much to 748W as to what was happening. And that's in part because they put vision in, like, just the right place. So they could see, like, yeah, okay. GT looked late and disorganized in getting to that mid situation. And so what I think would be incredibly clever is if that was actually GT, like, faking a level of lateness and disorganization, so that whatever they do next, 748W isn't ready for it. I think that would be like, that would be the big brain play, is like, you know, acting disorganized. Because to me, that just seemed like they were late and not in mid on time. That's how that felt. Right, wrong, or otherwise. That's how it looked. And so if they actually are using that as like a feint, you know what I mean?
Setup, a long con.
Yeah, the long con. What's the payoff for that long con?
The payoff is that you send heavy to the third mid, 748W doesn't, and you win that third mid fight.
There it is.
That's the payoff.
That would be such a payoff. Dude, that would be such a con. That is like a bank heist movie. Like, pick your flavor. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, but I think if you're 748W, you just say to yourself, look at how GT has played this match so far. Look at the score. They don't want to go to the third mid. Like, if you're 748W, you know GT doesn't want to go to this third mid. So I think you just send a small and 748 knows they have to gamble. I think if you're 748W, you send a small force to mid, you hope to win that third arc, but you really fight on the sides. You can't let this last GT no mark punish you. And so that's the cat and mouse game that's happening right now in real time as GT tries to defend their desert altar here.
I mean, yeah, I think it if that was a feint of indecision about going mid, like then I bought it, because it just looked like indecision about going mid, you know? Like I don't know. It looked uncertain. Because now we got 3 minutes till mid, and like this looks more like what I would expect. And you know what's funny? Look where they're gathering. They're trying to conceal.
Yep.
They were trying to conceal, I think.
They're
like,
keeping
look,
their
they're
options
going over
open.
here.
Yeah, they're keeping their options open here because they can still go. This is where GT likes to stand, and it's a really good spot because they can go mid or they can just redirect and push the sides. 748W is going mid like they know they have to, kind of going heavier mid than I would think. And look at this. Look at the vision. Look at the vision for red team. And GT's showing they're flashing mid for sure with these marches here. Whether GT's going mid or not, this is... Well, I mean, who is this useful for, Chiz? I guess if GT wants to go mid, it's useful for red. And if GT wants to fake this out, it's useful for GT.
I mean, the sentry's so well placed. They've got eyes on this. Like, they know GT is coming to this. They see. Yeah.
And GT just seems to not realize that the vision is there. Even though that's a very standard place to put a sentry, GT has not protected their own vision by placing a sentry so they can destroy the enemy's vision. They haven't even tried to protect their vision at this point. Yeah. So 748W at this point knows GT's going heavy mid, and they can respond with an all-in of their own. Both teams, looks like both teams going all in on this third mid.
They sure are, which this is not how I dreamed this up.
If you're GT, would you have done this if you were the GT leader? Would you have gone all in for this third mid? Nope. Me neither.
0% chance.
Yeah.
Especially after the last arc, I would have put enough to feint it, but then push buildings, hit no mark, and called it a day.
Yep, I agree. I absolutely agree. And they were setting up for the fake, but you have to make that real-time split decision. And
after
GT
that
somehow,
first arc fight, I am afraid to fight 748W in a fair fight. Definitely. Right?
And
they had the unfair fight, and like that was dicey. Doesn't get much closer. And so like, does GT have an unfair fight in their favor here? I don't think so, man. So I don't know what this is. This is risky. Actually, I know exactly what it is. It feels risky. Now. They have deployed a lot of points. They use their stocking up. They've almost certainly got an energy advantage here going into this. But we know that there's almost certainly a time warp coming up. There's a to the death and possibly an additional desert storm coming from
for sure.
748W.
We will see a double desert storm from the red team for sure here. They set it up with the energetic. They are in position for a barrage. The question is, what is the GT barrage going to be? Seawill now casting time warp. The skill caster changing for GT. Seawill with the time warp. Let's see what these two teams are going to do here skill wise.
Well, so it has to be to the death, and then afterwards they can use something else, right? Yeah, there's to the death. Little early. I guess it's fine. Both teams use it. There it is.
Yeah, it's mirrored
GT
to the
Desert
here.
Storm. So GT
there's the Desert Storm.
Lands the double Desert Storm. That's big. That stocking up is going to really pay off there. And they don't have the points for that in 748W.
Yeah, it doesn't look like 748W has the points.
But who cares? Where's that
red team.
Carrier? Holy.
Yeah, the red team with a clean run, a very clean pull here, a full health belly, although it did get nuked. Very good job nuking that T1 March by the blue team. So GT, I mean, the sad faces are so heavy on both sides. Pirate now flanking from the bottom. Pirate's going to do a lot of work here, and this feels like a very close mid fight to me, Chiz.
I think GT's got it. I actually feel like this is really strongly GT. And the reason is that if 748W had a double Desert Storm, this would be very dangerous for GT. But because they don't, they can't get this arc. And I think that's how it's played out. That
Wow.
double storm is huge.
Wow. Big win for GT here.
Yep.
Very big win. They outskilled them. Double Desert Storm, getting the job done for GT. They did the all-in on the third arc and won 2 out of 3 arcs in this match. As much as we thought that maybe they were a little bit weaker mid, 2 out of 3 arcs for GT, and they are in the driver's seat right now. Ambush time.
Yeah, they got it.
Ambush time, right? It's got to be. Got to be an ambush.
Yeah, good luck ambushing this carrier. Unlike the days have passed where the carrier walks on their own, this one's got a full escort. I think this is sailing home, no problems, scot-free.
Well, there is that one skill slot is open. They have put Master Strategy on the bar before, so
And they stock up again. Jeez. Yeah, the stocking up before the time warp's really interesting. And they still have more provisions to come in. They are so chilling.
Yeah, 5,000 point lead for GT here. And the arc in hand essentially means they've got a 9,000 point lead. If you're 748W, it's steal this arc or go home at this point. And GT knows that. GT is going to defend this arc carrier as best they can. We see just many layers of a wall here protecting this arc carrier. And still, even with that wall, the arc carrier taking a very, very safe route on its way home. As
There's
GT
that
tries to
last
just
no
lock
mark, by
this
the
up.
way. So they squeeze that in right on time. Yeah, it's curtains, baby. It is funny. Chat thinks I'm biased against GT. They do know that my homie Cortex is the king of GT, right?
You've been nicer to GT in this match than I have.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
By a little bit, at least.
Yeah. Some chatters have opinions, I suppose.
I mean, look, I think that, you know, the GT leaders, if they were to watch our commentary, they might just think that we were being idiotic here because obviously everything went according to plan in the end. But, like, listen, if they lost that third mid, that's an 8,000 point swing. And
8,000 point swing. Right.
Like,
because
that potentially
it's
loses
not
them
just-
the match.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
not.
they're probably going to win by like 8K, so.
Yeah. I think that the key math that makes that fight favorable was the ability point advantage that 748W did not have. Because they couldn't double Desert Storm. And that's, I think, a very important part of their strategy, actually. Is like they know they're going to lose one of the arcs, so they have to have more for a later arc.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
hey,
And
I said they had to use 2 to the deaths and 2 no marks, and they did. They squeezed them all in.
well, you know, I think in this case, the second no mark was superfluous. It was really that second Desert Storm and that second to the death and the second to the death that was amazing here for GT, certainly. And, you know, a good job holding the time warp and also just holding their buildings for this match. You know what I'm curious about, Chiz, is how close was 748W to being able to cast the second Desert Storm? You know, like how, you know, were they at 2.5 points or what? And, you know, we talked about this yesterday, Chiz. We talked about if you want to be safe doing this kind of energetic strategy, you have Dust Up as that third skill, as that last skill, because it only costs 2 points. You're just making it a little bit safer for yourself to have enough points. Kind of interesting that in this case, if they had Dust Up instead, maybe they get that last fighting skill for the final and crucial mid-fight.
This whole match, funny enough, was decided by 748W's choice of opener, if you think about it.
Yes, because they lost the first arc, man. They seemed like maybe the stronger team mid, but they lost the first arc because of that.
I mean, maybe, but like their choice to open the way they do basically predetermines the whole rest of the plays that could be made. And like GT thought about that, obviously, in advance. And it's like, here's what we do if they run the opener. Here's what we do if they don't run the opener. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it almost reminds me of, in fact, it's funny. Oh, Master Strategy. Okay, a little late.
Master Strategy.
A little late for that now. Yeah. It reminds me of, like, in a card game, 748W played aggro and GT played counter.
Absolutely. 748W
Right?
tried to play game theory optimal. I mean, you started at this match saying this is the best opener. This is the best opener in the game. So it's like the game theory optimal opener. But there is an exploit. It's not GTO because GTO means you can't be exploited. In this case, the 748W opener, there was a way to exploit it. We talked about it before the match, and then we saw GT do it. You know, Chiz, in my opinion, once you realize you're not taking those outposts, like once you realize your team's marches are nowhere near GT's outposts, maybe you just cancel that early no mark.
I don't know.
And you're losing the fights. And you're losing the fights at some of the buildings. You know, you're not looking good at the buildings that you're trying to take as well. I think maybe you just let go of that no mark.
I mean, this might be one of the first times that 748W has been answered in this way with the question they ask at the start, which is like, can you handle our all-out offensive, yes or no? And for a lot of teams, that answer is no. Actually, we can't. Right?
Yep. Yeah, for most teams they can't, but it plays into GT's wheelhouse. They're such a good defensive team. They're such a good defensive team that they were just like, oh, all we have to do is stand at our own buildings and win the fight? Sure. Cast that no mark.
And defense is easier because it's closer to your side. So theoretically, like, if you can exploit the refresh times, you have an advantage. Yeah. I thought that was really fun to see played out. Right? Like, it's just
such a roller coaster. What a roller coaster of a
Yeah.
match. And yet, I'm sure on GT, there's people on GT who are like, no, this was just a Sunday drive. You know, this was just, you know.
I somehow think that their voice chat was a little more excited than a Sunday drive.
Well, they're going to get to do it again because GT is going to advance in this tournament. There is going to be a break next week, but they will be playing the winner of the other match. I should update the chat here about what is happening in the other match between GY16 and Beer, because the winner of that is going to play GT next week.
Should be pretty hype. The matches in general feel like they've just been heating up and heating up, which is exactly what you'd expect getting further in the tournament, but it's definitely more and more exciting to cast and spectate. Thanks everybody for dropping in to today's live stream. This was definitely hype. Subscribe if you haven't already. You're on the official Rise of Kingdoms channel where all the action happens for the 2025 Global Champions Grand Prix Tournament. Congratulations to GT with a commanding 10,000 point victory against 748W, who played incredibly well, who has what is arguably one of the strongest openers that I've ever seen. This was a great game. Any closing thoughts, BK?
Yeah, super interesting match. Congratulations to GT for a very well-played game. They will be going against Beer next week. Beer winning against GY16. So 2 international teams left in this tournament, and they will be playing on October 11th, GT versus Beer for King of the Internationals. Chiz, can't wait.
Looking forward to it, man. Hope everybody has a good week, and we'll see you then for the next round of matches. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.